Knicks family, what's going on? Salute to the Queen. Thanks for joining me as always. Sorry I'm so late, but we here, man. We're ready for the game tomorrow.
Yes, we are.
You hear me clear?
Yes, I
All
hear you
right,
clear.
cool. Um, well, I mean we're here. It's season time. It's time for
Yes,
the
it is.
season. We got what less than 24 hours, and first off, I want to start off by saying obviously, Yo Black is time, but anybody who is going to the game, whether it's with MBK or not, we would love to have you guys at Legends NYC. Um, we're gonna be there from 3:30 to 5:30. So
Hmm.
please, if you got nothing to do before the game, as long as you're
Yep.
vaccinated, you bring your ID, come hang out with us. We're gonna go live before the game, do a nice little podcast. Um, and we love to have you. So please join us.
For
That'd
sure.
be
For
nice.
sure.
Um, There's not much to talk about. I know we've done talked about everything all week long. The
Sure.
excitement is here. We're ready to go. But I got a couple things. Let's see where we want to start with. Um, Questions, I guess. We touched on this on your show yesterday.
Hmm.
But we'll talk about it again. Quiet Money, salute. I see you in the chat. Thanks for
Quiet
joining
money.
us. Um, Adjustments and acclimation. Um, that's what we're waiting for. I mean, we saw 4-0 in preseason,
Hmm.
and that was with Kemba not playing to the standards that I believe that he will play this year. And
Right.
you could say the same about Fournier. Um,
Right.
Not saying they underachieved or anything like that, but I just think they have a long way to go to where they're at full strength, full chemistry with the team. So my
Right.
my question to you, to Quiet Money in the chat, Shop Powers, I see you in the chat. My question to you guys is, how long do you think it's gonna take for us to be fully acclimated, with Kemba and Fournier, full strength? I'll start with you, Queen. I'll give my thoughts, and I'll see what the chat gotta say.
I would say 20 games in to be fully acclimated. Now, it can happen before then, and I hope it does, because as much wins as we can get early, given how brutal that schedule is a little later on. But I would say 20 games. I think we're going to get that's a good chunk of time. That's what, like a quarter of the season
Mm-hmm.
to really, they can get acclimated for us to see. Just like in preseason, our pace was quick. The first two games is slowed down after that. 20 games is a good enough time for us to know what our offense is going to look like, what our pace is going to look like. And not that it can't change as time goes on, but that's a good enough sample size for us to really assess our offense, our defense, our pace. So I would say 20 games.
And Quiet Money says 15 to 20. And I agree. I'm right there with you. I love when we agree, when we on the same page. You know what I mean? I agree. 20 games. That's what I'm giving.
Hmm.
I hope the fans overall are patient and know that it's gonna take some time for
Right,
everything to be fully in full swing. But I agree. 20 games seems about right. Seems fair. Um, I think even within those first 20 games, I think we should have a winning record. I think
right.
you know, I think we should be anywhere from, I'll take 15-5 or better.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what I'm hoping for. And then, after that 20 games, we should be at close to peak, peak, or not even peak. I'll give it half the season for the peak, but we should
Right,
be starting to gel, people
right,
getting accustomed with each other, knowing other guys' tendencies and things of that nature. I think
right.
the rotation should be set pretty much by
Yes.
then. 20 games in. So yeah, I mean, right off the back, we on the same page. 20
You know what
games.
else
What's that?
I would say should be said? And I guess you mentioned it in terms of the rotation. That's enough time to see how Tibbs is going to play Kimba and Rose. That's enough time to see if it's going to be an equal split. who's finishing games? Is it going to
Hmm.
be based on the defense, right? That'll give us enough time to see how he's going to work that. And in reality, that's the same thing with Noel and Mitch. Though I do think if Mitch is healthy, he probably might get most of the time. But still, after 20 games, that's going to be decided too. The whole Mitch Noel, is it more even? Is it Mitch at 36 and Noel at 12? After 20 games, we're going to know.
Yeah, yeah. And I'd be surprised if Mitch plays 36 minutes. You know, I,
Yeah.
I mean, we could legit have our or our centers and our point guards doing a even split straight down the middle. You know what I
Right.
mean? 20,
Right.
24, 24, 24, 24. And I wouldn't be mad at that. Mitch coming off the injury
Hmm.
history or injury of last season.
Right.
Noel with this hamstring, you got to bring him along slowly.
That's true. That's true.
And then Kimba with his injury history and Rose, you know, most of his injuries are in the past, but we don't want to push him. We
Right.
like him
Right.
at full strength
Fresh.
with
Right.
minimal
Right.
minutes where he's
Hmm.
just at his best during those minutes. So I wouldn't be surprised if they do an even split at the center at the point guard position. Um, and we just mentioned Noel, and that was my next topic.
Hmm.
We if you haven't heard, he is doubtful, most likely out for tomorrow's game.
Right.
Um, it's a little disappointing, but hamstrings you can't play around with.
No.
I hate to bring up Frank, but that was the thing
Right.
that that
Frankie
railroads him.
hamstrings.
Frankie hamstrings. That's what railroads him
Right.
throughout his time with the Knicks.
Right.
Really, is always a hamstring. Um, yeah. So this is gonna be some pressure on Mitch right now. And
Yeah.
we don't need him to overexert himself or
Right.
push himself too hard.
Right.
Um,
That's
so
why I think they're gonna go to that small ball
mm,
because Mitch can't really play the minutes. I'm not sure if Targes can play the minutes. Does Tibbs trust Sims enough to play those minutes? We might see a little more small ball.
I agree. I mean, at this point, Obi is showing out a little bit. Uh,
Hmm.
he's probably earned Tibbs' trust just off
Right.
of his work ethic in the off season, what he showed in preseason. Um, you know, we agree, you and I, that if anybody should have been pulled back a little bit last year,
Hmm.
Obi was the only one that wasn't. You know what I
Right.
mean? So that has to
Right.
say a lot about how Tibbs feels
Hmm.
about Obi. So I agree. I think we will, especially tomorrow. If no
Right.
other time, Boston is not a big team. Most of
Right.
their centers are undersized.
Hmm.
So I think if it's gonna work, that's where it's gonna work with, against Boston and a lineup that isn't that big.
Right.
Um, Off the top of my head, I don't think they have a 7 footer. Um,
No, because even Cantor is 6'10", right?
6'10" or 6'11".
Okay.
Yeah, I think the guy you like, what's his name? The center,
Williams.
Williams.
Williams the
He's like
third.
6'9",
Right. Right.
maybe.
Maybe
So
6'8", 6'9". Yeah.
fans should be happy because they've been
Hmm.
calling for Obi and Randall playing together, and
Right.
we might see it as early as tomorrow, especially
Hmm.
coming off of what they shown in that last game. So yeah, that's gonna be very very interesting. But again, it makes me a little bit nervous because I want both our centers healthy and ready to go.
Right.
I don't want that pressure on Mitch to play too many minutes, especially early.
Right.
Just coming back and missing so much time last year.
Right.
Um,
Right.
Let me read a comment real quick. I
And
don't
his
believe.
his conditioning may not be up to par just yet either.
Yeah, and he's admitted that that's one of the first things he said after the game. Like,
Right.
he's got to work on that conditioning. His timing and things of that nature.
Right. right,
So it's going to be interesting. Let me see. Shy Power says, I don't believe Mitch plays 30 minutes. Like you said, Tom, almost everyone can split their minutes in half. Yeah, I think at least early on,
right.
that's probably the best option for us. Don't want to
Mhm.
force a injury on anyone early. So if we
Right,
could do some kind of even splits and make it work, find ways to win. That's the Knicks motto for me this
right.
year. Is find ways to win.
Find ways
Um,
to win. You know what? I read an article in the Athletic, and shout out to them. I don't remember the author, but he made a good point. Two good points he said about the small ball lineup, that it forces the defense to have to change, right? So if you're going to keep your big center out there, Randall's going to have to pull that center out from underneath the basket, right? And that's going to create a lot of space in the lane, because if you have a shot, look at Gafford. He was playing Randall on the perimeter. So if anyone was to cut to the lane and Randall was to hit them, there would not have been a rim protector back there, right? Because Randall at the five caused him to go up. I think the other thing he said, which I thought was a good point, defensively, because there's no rim protection, that 1, 2, and 3 position has to be strong defensive players. Like, you can't have players that are not strong defensively, because if someone gets by them into the lane, there's not a lot of rim protection. And I think Obi did do a good job in terms of blocking shots, but he's not a Mitch. You know what I mean? So I think it worked because we had some strong defenders out there at that time. Grimes was out there. Um, Derrick Rose, who's an underrated defender in my opinion. Was it RJ at the other
yep.
and RJ. So you have really good perimeter defenders to kind of keep them out of the lane, so that excuse me, Randall and Obi didn't have to like protect the rim as
Hmm.
much, right? So that's going to be interesting if we go back to that, if that's something Tibbs thought of as well,
Yeah.
having that strong defensive backcourt.
Now, one thing I will say. Excuse me, 1 second.
Hmm.
It's been a long day. Been running around all day. Oh, excuse me. One thing I will say. I, Tibbs mentioned it. I mentioned it on your show as well. That lineup we saw, it wasn't. It was because he needed a change. It was because he didn't like what
Right.
he saw
Hmm.
at
Right.
the time. So m- what I'm wondering is that going to be the reasoning for us to see that small ball lineup, or did he like what he saw so much that
Right.
now it's going to be implemented? You know, just because he liked it and he trusted.
Right. Right.
What do you think about that? And then I'll
That's a
give my
very good
opinion
point.
as well.
That's a very good point. I think he used it out of necessity, but then found that it worked. So going forward, I think he is going to use it. But that's a good question. Is he going to use it out of necessity going forward, or is he going to use it as our advantage? That's
Because you think it
that's a good
surprised me.
point.
It surprised me that I'm and mostly with Grimes on the floor. That that's
Right.
that's the that's
Right.
the real question. I think we'll
Right.
see that small ball lineup in general more often than last year. Like
Right.
I
Right.
think, but Grimes was the thing that shocked me, if anything
Right.
else.
Right.
You know what
Right.
I mean? So it as Grimes shown enough to actually be in that
I don't
rotation.
I don't think so. Like, if they go small ball, would they go with Grimes? Do you feel like Burke would be effective if they
Mm.
went with that small ball and having Burke at the three? Because whoever's there has to be a defender. Like, I don't think it works with Kimba and I'm trying to think of somebody else. I think you need to have strong defenders at that 1, 2, and 3.
Well, if Burks is in there, I could see it working because he would be at the two. I would think RJ would be at the three at that point.
Right. That's true. Yeah.
So I can see that working.
Right.
Um, and granted, Burks wasn't available that game, so
Right.
maybe that's why we saw Grimes. So,
Right.
but again, I've been saying this all preseason, and even before preseason. These are good problems to have. These are good situations where the rookies are learning that situational does not mean you're not going to play.
Right.
And situational means when your time comes up, when your number gets called,
Be
be
ready.
ready and produce.
Right.
you know,
And produce. That's a good point. Be ready and produce.
so
Yeah.
it is a beautiful thing, and
Yeah.
then with Noel's not being available, do we do we see an inkling of Jericho? I was surprised we didn't see him the last
Yeah.
preseason game with
Yeah.
Noel out again. So
Right.
good problems to have. Absolutely
Yeah.
good problems to have, but
Yeah.
interesting
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
we don't know. We could guess, but we don't know. We
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 don't
may
know.
we may not
But
see.
this is what we know. In an 82 game season,
We will see them.
these situational players will see some time.
Absolutely,
Yeah. Yeah.
absolutely. And knock on wood. Let's hope that McBride is not down on himself. Let's hope that
Right.
he sees that the opportunity has arose for the other two guys, and just
Hmm.
waits his turn, and be ready and be ready to produce.
Right.
But I'm looking forward to seeing him too, and I'm
Right.
hoping it's not because of some type of
Injury. Yeah.
injury or
Yeah. Yeah.
something. You know,
Were you surprised that he didn't get because quickly didn't, so because you would think like if Kimber's not playing that IQ would be in there, but IQ wasn't in there. Were you surprised McBride didn't get that opportunity?
I, I was and I wasn't. The reason I wasn't is because Burks wasn't there.
Right.
You,
Right.
you know what I mean? And did Kimba play that last game? Kimba played the last game, right?
Yes.
Just
Mhm.
didn't necessarily play well. So I think
Defensively, he still had 12 points and 6 assists, though.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
He
yeah,
still had
yeah.
12 points and six
That
assists.
that is a fact. That
Wow.
is a fact.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what he's gonna have to do. Just to bring it
Right.
back to Kimba real quick, he's gonna have to produce offensively, and we're gonna have to live with his deficiencies
That's how I
defensively.
feel.
And and once he hits that stride, once he hits that full peak, hopefully he's giving us 20, 20 plus every now and again.
Right.
6 to 8 assists will be great from that point guard position, especially the starting point
Absolutely.
guard position, and
Yeah.
and then make it tough on Tibbs.
Right.
Make it
Right.
make it
Right.
make it
Right.
tough for him to
Right.
decide, like, what do I want to do here? Because I
Right.
mean, you mentioned it. Rose's defense is not horrible, but it's also not the greatest. He gets
Right.
beat by
Right.
certain guards as well.
Right. Right.
Um, but as we know, he goes right back at him and
Right.
makes big plays. So that's what we're
Right.
gonna need from Kimba as well. Make some big plays. Make it
Right.
tough on Tibbs to decide
Right.
which
Yeah,
side
I
do I
was
want to fall
thinking,
on.
I was thinking when I was, after the show, I always think about it a little bit. Was I overreacting to Kimber getting 20 minutes? I think I was just getting nervous. I think I was just getting nervous. I was like, Tibbs, come on, don't get into this. He's not playing defense, or he can't be in the game. Look, we already know what it is. Just it's gonna even itself out, and we're gonna come out ahead, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. I do want to give a shout out to Be Smooth. Be Smooth has confirmed he's coming on tomorrow. Uh,
Okay.
I, he'll be on the show for a little segment. So
Okay.
you guys check out MBK. Look out for the show tomorrow. It's gonna be a good one. We got Be Smooth on there. He came on my channel and laid into laid into Kimber Walker
Right.
and his time in Boston. I did not expect that. That was not my intention when I brought him on,
Right.
but it
Right.
fit it fit the channel. It
Right.
was all
Right.
nicks and bruises that
Right.
episode. But
right.
he's gonna
But for
come on.
those who don't know
He's a
who's B
Celtics fan.
Smooth, yeah,
Yeah,
he's a
Celtics
Celtics
fan,
fan.
and he's gonna defend them to the end, and we're gonna let him have it as well. So it's gonna be a good, some good interaction.
Right.
Look forward to that. And I told him, a couple of us will go on his channel when we
Yeah, of
play
course.
when we play the Celtics on the road, or a
Yeah.
home game for him,
Yeah.
and we'll have to deal with his chat at that time. So don't lay into him too much, but
Right.
don't give him don't let him get a pass either, because he's gonna be talking crazy. So
Right.
let
Right.
him have it, but
Be like
be
Big Daddy
respectful.
Kane. Do your thing, but be respectful.
That's a fact. That's a fact. That's a fact. It's gonna be great. And again, I want to reiterate, you know, all are welcome. If you're vaccinated, you got your ID. Meet us at Legends NYC tomorrow,
Yeah.
3:30 to 5:30. I think this is, uh, hey, no pun intended, but I think this is gonna be legendary. You know,
Yeah.
I
And
really do.
listen, I saw that we going back at 11.
Yes, for the
They're
post
gonna
game.
stay open.
Yep,
Wow.
yep,
Okay.
yep. I
That's
mean, I
awesome.
think the kitchen closes, but
Right.
the bar won't be closed. So you know,
That's what's up.
hopefully we're celebrating and
Yeah. Yeah.
enjoying that win.
Right. Right.
Uh, but yeah, we'll be back afterwards as well. So
Yeah.
it's gonna be a eventful night. Eventful night. I have another topic I did want to throw out there, and again, we talked about this on your show, um, but I'm gonna kind of break it down a little bit, not in depth, but just give my opinion. Third in defense overall last year,
Mhm.
23rd in offense overall last year.
Mhm.
Um, I'm thinking we're not gonna drop under 10 in defense.
Right.
But just to just to say, what if, let's say we drop 10 spots and we move to 13, right? And then we move up 10 spots offensively and we get to 13. So worst case scenario, I say 13 offense, 13th defense, but I'm thinking 10 and 10. Um
Right.
but both of those cases,
That's
um
championship.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
one
I'm
of
not
the
saying we're
top
gonna win a
that's
championship, but
one
when
of
you
the
look
top
at
teams.
championship teams, yeah.
Exactly. That's where
Yeah.
they range. That's where they
Yeah.
range.
Yeah.
Um and I think we're no worse than 13th offensively, 13th defensively, but I think we
Mhm.
could be 10th in the league defensively. I think we could really be better than 10th offensively, but I'll say 10, because that's a huge jump to be from 23rd in the league to 10th in the league, or 23rd in the league to 13th in the league. That's a huge jump that you don't normally see in 1 year. You know what I
No
mean?
doubt about it.
And I'm thinking that's where we're gonna range out at. And I'm looking at 50 wins for sure. I really am. Um, if if
Ooh.
if we stay in those two ranges between 13 and 13 and 9 and 10 and 10 offensive defensive rating, I can't see why we don't win 50 games.
I think a lot has to break right for us for to get to 50 in this packed
Hmm.
Eastern Conference, because it's not going to be a lot of gimmies.
Nope.
So that means that there's going to be a lot of close games and we pulling them out. And I think we can, just in terms of the mental toughness, I'll never say die attitude, the way Tibbs is on those guys, like they're mentally sharp, right? Um, but a lot has to break right for us, just in terms of the injuries to the point guard spot and the center spot. So I would agree with you. If we're healthy, yeah, we have definitely a good shot at that. If we got a mismatch now because this one is out, we got to bring this one up, and you know, um, it's going to be tough to win those tough games, because usually in them tight games, you got chemistry. Everybody is on a string. Everybody knows each other. It's easy to pull out them tight games. When you got a situational player in the roster, things just don't work as smoothly. So I would say if we're not injured, Yeah, that's definitely doable.
Hey, I'm expecting some injuries. It's part of the
So you
game.
50 with the injuries, with possible
I'm
injuries.
50 with it because
Wow.
two things: find ways to win and next
Yeah,
man up.
yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
it's been the model since last year. We were finding ways to win last year. We squeezed out some games that coming into the game we didn't think we were we didn't think we was gonna
Mhm,
win.
mhm,
Um,
mhm,
Now, granted, it's gonna take a little bit of luck. It's gonna take a little bit of circumstances from the other team as well.
mhm,
But
mhm.
just like we may get injuries, the
They
whole
may
league,
as well.
the whole league
Absolutely.
may.
No doubt
You
about it.
know, we,
But you know what? That is true. But I'm like when Noel is not playing, Mitch hasn't played through March. I'm a little. I think there's definitely equal risk, and then there's some players that have a little more risk. You know, and we seem to have a few of those. you
no,
know.
I mean,
Oh,
we definitely do. We definitely do, and you can't hide it. You can't deny it. But I mean, look at last year, right? Look what Noel did when he stepped up, right? When Mitch went out. Right now, granted, no Mitch has to get to full speed, but
right.
it's his turn to step up now. You know what I mean?
It
It's
is.
it's his
It
turn
is.
to say, I gotta hold it down until Noel is back
Right.
and hold the fort down. And we're gonna need that from everybody. We're gonna need that from
Oh,
rookies. We're gonna need that from the bench.
right.
I love our bench. I don't want to be the super homer today, but I feel like we got at least the top five bench in the league.
Yeah. Yeah. Easy. Easy.
At
Matter of
least.
fact, I was gonna do it, and maybe I'll bring it out the next show. I have I looked at all of the benches in the league, and I created some slides so that we
Uh-oh.
can actually look at them and compare it. Um, there's some good ones in the Western Conference as well, but Milwaukee, the Nets, I was looking at. Um, Charlotte. There's some good benches, but I agree. I think we're gonna be right up there. And it's a difference between having good names on your bench and having that chemistry. And I
Hmm.
think that's what gives our bench the edge. We have that chemistry. They've been playing together for a long time. And you can see it even in preseason. The bench is playing, better than our first team, right?
Yeah.
So I think our bench is going to hit the ground running, and until that first team is where it needs to be, they may get extended minutes. You know, I think that's what happened in that Washington game. Right, Rose paid a lot of minutes because they had that continuity, and Tibbs was clear he wanted to win that game.
And at this point, I mean, you can argue our our point guard on the bench, our second string point guard is better than our starting point guard. You could argue it. You know what I mean? You could argue. I mean, I don't want to say Noel is better than Mitch because I don't believe that, but I mean
Right,
he done held it down for a full half a season
right,
with not much breathing room to make mistakes.
right.
Not much breathing room to lose time, to get in foul trouble. Um,
Hmm.
Taj at this point, or not at this point, but when Noel is healthy, he becomes situational. How how
Right,
how cool is that? That
right.
another guy that came in, stepped up, held it down for us, is actually going to be a third string center. You know what I mean? Like that.
Yeah,
Like that's how good
yeah,
we are.
yeah,
um,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know
You're absolutely right.
the rest of our situational guys. I don't know, but what we've seen so far, you gotta love it. You
Yeah,
know, and
yeah,
I'm just super excited about tomorrow. Can't wait. I
yeah,
can't wait to talk with B Smooth. I think this is gonna be another epic one.
yeah,
Um, I
yeah.
don't know. I don't know. What do you think, Queen? Let's
I
do a
think it's.
quick prediction, I guess, on tomorrow
I think
night.
we win that game. I think it would have been a close game. I think it's still going to be a close game. I think Boston is going to play hard, even if now. As of yesterday, Horford and Brown wasn't playing. Anything I
I
missed?
I
It's
haven't heard
still
anything different.
okay. Okay.
I haven't heard
So
anything different.
I think it gives us the edge, but you still got to show up. And to
Hmm.
do another versus analogy, KRS had the edge. He had the he had the catalog. But you got to execute. You got to execute, and
One
that's the
hundred
same
percent.
thing. We got
100%.
the edge, I think, but we got to go in there and we got to execute.
All right. I'm hearing Andrew says Brown is listed as active, so maybe he returns. But I mean, coming off a COVID protocol, he had to have missed at least 10 games. I mean, 10 days, right? So
Right?
you know,
Yeah, practice. Right.
how much how much is he gonna be
Right.
ready to go, or
Right.
in game shape, or just dealing with the whole recovery process and things of that
Right.
nature. So
Right.
I mean, and obviously, not saying I want guys at full strength, because I don't care what's going on with whoever we're playing
Right.
on the other
Right.
side.
Right. Right.
You guys could all be injured and playing your two-way
Right.
guys and
Right.
rookies. I don't care. I just want to win. But you play the
Right.
hand that you're dealt, and
Right.
and
Yeah.
if you got a good
Yeah.
hand, you take advantage of it,
No doubt
right?
about it. Yeah. No
Um,
doubt about it. I would like to see. I'm not. I think RJ will be matched up against Brown. Um. So I definitely want to see that. That matchup as well. Um. At point guard, that's going to be a tough one. Smart and Kimba. Potentially, I believe Smart is starting, and he's a tough physical defender. Um, so I'm interested in seeing that. And who else plays? Tatum is playing a three. Because if they got Jalen and Tatum at the 2 and 3, that Fournier and RJ is going to have to be on their game,
hmm
right? Now, if they move in Jalen to 4 and moving somebody up to the 3, that's different. But if they're 2 and 3, you putting RJ on Tatum or Brown?
Well, first, let me say I wouldn't be surprised if they moved Tatum to the four.
That's what I was thinking, but I'm not sure who would they put at the two. Maybe they start Schroeder
Schroeder
and
and move
Brown,
Smart.
being that Horford is out,
Mm,
you know, and move
yeah.
Tatum to the 4 and Robert Williams the third to the 5. That's
I, I don't care what lineup they throw out there. I'm not too worried about it. It's gonna be up to us to play our game. It don't matter who if Randall's guarding Tatum and vice versa. I think they both gonna have an issue. You know what I mean? It's gonna be tough for
right,
both of them on both
right,
ends.
right.
Tatum is not really known as the greatest of defenders. That's one of the things he's allegedly been working on this off season. I
Hmm.
hate to have all this like Boston knowledge, but
Hmm.
between
Right,
between
right,
me
right.
between me reaching out to these guys trying to get them on to debate
Hmm.
this game, I've been watching a little bit of their shows, and so I got a little bit of at least a feel of what the Boston fans think or been
Hmm.
saying about their team. Um, I did want to comment to -2 trail. I don't know what happened, man. I had the ticket for you. I've been, I was trying to reach out to you to get you to come to this versus and get you that ticket, but being that I didn't reach you and we didn't communicate, I'm gonna give you a. I got a couple of rookie cards. I got some Obi Toppin cards. I got uh quickly cards. So whenever you reach out to me on whether it's Twitter or Facebook or somewhere where I don't have to put my information out where the public can see it, and you can DM me. I'll get you those. And you say you was waiting for me to hit you on Twitter. I didn't get any. Is your Twitter name different than your name here? Let me ask you that. and I'm sorry guys to having this private conversation, but I really, I'm a man of my word. I was trying to get you that ticket, and I didn't want it to go to waste, so I did ended up giving it to someone else, but that's just because I needed it to be used. Um, but same here. All right, I'm gonna look again, and we'll figure this out, and I got you. We'll work on. I owe you something. I'll tell you that. But salute to you. I'm glad you're still here. And we'll figure that out. I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. I seen minus two trill, and I had to speak to
Right,
him.
right, right, right.
Where were we?
I think you were saying the last I remember is it didn't matter who we um we matched up with.
Oh,
Um, but I think matchups do make a difference. Because if a team has an edge in a matchup and they keep going back to that matchup and going
mm-hmm,
back to that matchups, unless you make a adjustment, it does put you at a disadvantage. So when we think about Marcus Smart and Kemba,
mm-hmm,
you know, Kemba, you could say, has the advantage offensively,
mm-hmm,
right? I mean, like he could probably score more points than Marcus Smart. Marcus Smart is not an offensive minded person in terms of creating his own shots, as far as I can remember. But I think he's going to make it tough for Kemba,
mm-hmm,
right? And if he decides to drive to the basket, that can create some foul trouble. Tatum, I prefer Tatum at the four against, Randall,
Randall.
right? Maybe they can offset each other. You
Mm-hmm,
put him at the three and Jalen is at the two. Now you got Fournier and RJ against Brown and Tatum. One of them
yeah.
is
I,
gonna
I mean, I agree
have
that is gonna be tough. I actually do like the Tatum. Like not saying like it, but I don't mind it because you know what, RJ, first game of the season. This is what we need from you anyway.
if
Hey,
he can if
hey.
he can I'm not saying he need to lock him down, but if he can make it tough, if he's playing Tatum and he makes it tough for Tatum and he's not as efficient, he's not shooting kudos. I
and
mean, if he
and
could do that, that's what
what?
we need.
Yes, and what does that do for his confidence going forward? What does
Yes.
that do
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
now? It's like, all right, this is what we needed from you. This is what we thought we were gonna need from you all year. And
Right.
first game of the season, that's your matchup. RJ,
Yeah.
make it tough. Don't I
Yeah.
mean, I'm
If
not
he
saying
does
stop it.
that,
Just make it tough.
yeah. Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
I I like that. That's a like Andrew said, great test for RJ right off the bat. So I don't mind that. Um, Brown again, if he's in at the two,
Hmm.
theoretically, yeah, he has the advantage, but also coming off this 10 games with no practice,
Yep. Yeah.
not being
Yeah.
acclimated, new coach, things of that
Right.
nature. So first game of the season, that's what I mean when I say I don't really care what the what the matchup is. What's because it's a learning curve for them, less
Right.
so for us. And Fournier, granted, he's an offensive guy. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
He normally gets his buckets regardless of who's guarding him on the other side. So
Hmm.
as tough as it is for Brown, make it tough for him. Run him around.
Right.
You know what I mean? Make
Hmm.
him run. Like you got to think of your
Right.
personnel and who you're going against, and then use
Right.
what you can to whatever their disadvantage or whatever they're not good at. Make that
Right.
their make them do that. And I don't think Brown wants to chase a guy around. You know what I mean? So,
Right.
maybe and then maybe that has to be Tibbs' decision to say Fournier,
Right.
run around this screen, run around this street,
Right. Right.
make this guy run.
Right.
Um, you know,
Right.
if you're not gonna post him up, you're not gonna use strength against him. You're gonna
Right.
have to use speed and IQ and savvy and things of that nature.
Right. Right.
Um,
To make it
and
harder.
then you mentioned Smart and Kemba. Um, yeah, Smart can make it difficult on Kemba, but at the same time, he's not going to be that offensive threat where we're
Right.
worried about Kemba's defense, right?
Right. Right.
Against a guy like Smart, like I don't
Yeah.
foresee Smart coming in and dropping 30. You know what I
No,
mean?
no, 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 no.
I'd be surprised if he dropped 20. You know what I mean? Not
Right,
saying he's not capable, but
right.
you know, look at his averages, look at his game.
Mhm,
Um, he's more of a defensive guy and maybe a guy who hits some clutch shots,
mhm.
but not necessarily shots throughout the game.
Right.
Um,
I mean, I'm more concerned with the drive. If he's going to shoot threes,
mhm.
off of Randall, I mean, off of Tatum and Brown, good. Um, as long as he's not driving to the basket, we good.
And even his drive, though, I mean, it's not like he's a above the rim guy. You know what I mean? He's kind of in that Kyle Lowry mode of just
Mhm.
a little bit of strength, a little bit of savvy, a little bit of toughness. But I think overall we can handle him. I think Kemba can handle him. Even
I don't know
even
about
it.
that. So I'm
Hey,
hoping. I'm
hey,
hoping on the
eh,
drives. I'm talking about on
yes.
the drives. I'm talking about.
What is Kemba's strength defensively?
Yeah, charges. But even if he gets 3 charges a game, how many defensive position possessions are in a game? There's a lot of defensive possessions in the game. So even if he does get 2, even 3 charges, that's still only like 2% of the possessions in a game.
Yeah, yeah, but all right, here, let me put it like this. If if Marcus Smart is driving, right, and trying to take advantage of his so-called mismatch,
Hmm.
I still think that's the advantage of us. Like if he goes for 25 because he's driving, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
That means somebody else, a
It's not
bigger
getting a shot.
offensive threat, is not getting the
He's not
shot.
getting a shot.
You
I
know
mean,
what I
I don't
mean?
think he's gonna. I don't think he's
So
going crazy like that.
so
Yeah, I
let
don't
me
think he's going
if
crazy
he's
like
killing
that.
us,
Yeah.
I think that means somebody else isn't,
Right.
and
Right.
I'll take that scenario all day. You want to be the leader scorer tonight because you got Kemba on you?
Right. Right. No, I don't.
Like,
I don't think he's gonna. I don't think he's gonna do that.
yeah, I mean, and he don't. I mean, what's the most amount of shots he? I don't think he's ever taken more than like 15
Yeah.
shots in a game. You
No,
know what I
but you
mean?
know what? He's a starter now, so I don't really know. I haven't watched Boston, so I
Hmm.
don't really. I mean, it's good we're gonna have B Smooth on. I haven't. I don't really know how he plays with them.
Hmm.
I've seen games where he, may have closed down the stretch. So he's played with them some, but I'm not sure what it actually looks like. With him in that starting lineup.
That's right. That's right.
Do
Man,
you
child,
think
salute.
we win? Do you think it's gonna be a close game? Do you think it's gonna be like less than 5 points, or do you think it's gonna be more than that?
Hmm. So my heart tells me we're gonna send a message tomorrow. Like I really think we're gonna send a message. I mean, we're home. We're at the Garden, first game of the season. Kemba's homecoming, playing against the team that kind of like turned their back on him. Sent him to OKC of all places.
Of all
You,
places, right?
you know what I mean? Like I think he has a lot to prove tomorrow. If no, if no other time, and I wouldn't be mad if the guys encouraged Kemba to
I'm
go
sure they will.
go out and show them they made a mistake
Hmm.
and say thank you for making your mistake because
Right.
it benefited us. So I think Kemba actually has maybe the best game that we've seen from him in his brief stint of as a Nick.
Hmm.
Um, so that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking Kemba actually goes off tomorrow. Um, I think RJ. I'm hoping RJ just shows who he's going to be defensively. Whether he's on Brown, whether he's on Tatum, I
Hmm.
just hope that he shows who he's going to be this season
Hmm.
on the defensive end. Um, and then Randall, I think he's going to be fine. I think he gets his normal 25 points.
Hmm.
Um, and I think the X factor at this point is Mitch. How much of his chemistry, or how much of his learning curve is over with. You know what I mean? Like getting his wind back, and like he was
Right,
visibly tired um after playing, which I think he played more minutes than they expected. I think that was
right.
out of necessity more than
Mhm.
like what, because they liked what they saw from him, or they was trying to get him to play those amount of minutes. I think it was because Taj was in foul trouble.
Right.
Nerlens wasn't there. Actually fouled out. Noel
Mhm.
wasn't there. And again, I was surprised we didn't see Jericho that last preseason game. So, but
Right.
I think he's the X factor. If he could not lose his win,
Mhm.
and if his timing is back to normal somewhat, I don't think
Yeah.
they have an answer for him at all.
If he's back, I think as if he's not back, it may be a little more even. But I think you're right. If his timing is back and his conditioning is back, which I'm not sure it's going to be after just one preseason game. But if it is, I think Mitch definitely has the advantage because he could do like I'm not sleeping on Williams. He's a good shot blocker. He's very good at timing blocks, but he doesn't have the height Mitch has. He's doing that at 6'8", 6'9". Mitch is doing it at seven
One,
feet,
yeah,
seven
yeah,
one. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
So I truly believe he's the X factor. And I say that because they don't have an answer for him. You know, the only thing that is gonna really hurt him is maybe some foul trouble, or just not having the timing, or just being winded, and not being, having to take these breaks, and things of that nature. Um,
right.
but I mean, overall, I think we win. I think we sent a message to the Celtics. I think we sent a message to the league that
And that's
last
going to be
year
on national TV too.
last year was not a fluke. You know, lot, a lot of people like to talk about. We did get a lot of breaks. You know, we played some teams that was dealing with COVID, and dealing with injuries, and but I don't want to hear that. That's part of the league. When we when we lost Mitch, we won
Mhm.
games. You know,
Mhm.
so
Yep.
you
Yeah.
gotta play with the guys that you have, as do we. And,
Right.
and when we have guys out, when we have guys out of the rotation, when we got guys missing games, we still played hard, and we won the
Right.
majority of them.
Right.
So I don't want to hear anything about the other team and who they're missing and this or that and that.
No. No.
They still
No.
got to come out and play us. And I think we're gonna send a message to the league tomorrow, and
Yeah.
I think we're gonna send a message to the league this year that it was not a fluke. We are ready,
Yeah.
and
I definitely think we
I'm gonna
win.
enjoy this ride.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think it's gonna be a blowout though, but I think we're gonna win. I think it's gonna be anywhere between 5 to 10 points. We're gonna win. I'm trying to be a little objective. I do think the Knicks have um, a better team. I know us the Celtics fan would disagree because they think their roster is just as deep as ours, and it is on paper.
Hmm.
But I just don't think that second team is clicking. Um, their first team might, and our first team is still trying to, get it together. But like you said, Brown has been, out of practice for, you know, I don't know how long.
At least 10
Um,
games. I mean, that's the
right.
protocol.
Right. Smart is starting. That's not something so that's different for them. And like you said, different offensive sets, a different team. So it's gonna take them some time to gel, but it's still gonna take our first team a little time to gel as well. And I wouldn't be surprised if things are not going well, if he leans on that second team a little more because of the chemistry that they have.
Even going against this their starting five.
Ooh, I wouldn't say in the beginning of the game. I wouldn't say in the
No,
beginning of the game, but
But I
down
mean,
the
if he's
stretch.
leaning on them at some point, they will be playing against,
I
you
could
know.
see him mixing and matching. Like I could see him, playing Derrick Rose, over Kimba with that
Mhm.
first unit for some, for some minutes. I could see that.
I've noticed, and maybe I misread it or whatever, but I've noticed Fournier playing a lot of minutes with the second unit in this preseason. I don't know if you noticed that, or
I
if
did.
you agree with that, but I felt like it was a lot of times. It felt like maybe the second unit came in all but one guy, and then Fournier was that lone starter to get a lot of minutes with the second unit, and then
Right.
eventually he'd get out, and then that last guy, whether it be Burks or I mean most of the time it was Burks, that last guy coming in, you know, finished out the second unit. Um, I mean, for the Celtics to keep it close, I think they're gonna really have to play a team game. You know what I mean? Like where we don't know where their scoring is coming from. I think if Tatum goes off and is on pace for 50, I think that's an advantage for us. I think that
Mm,
means the rest of his team is not engaged like like they should be. It's not they're not playing a team game. So I really believe that that gives us the advantage. I don't think he could beat us by himself. You know what I mean?
mm,
Um, I
mm.
I think, yeah. I mean, that's just how I feel. I
Yeah,
don't I I would be more worried if that team, if they're even kill, and it's like
spreading the ball
15
around.
15 15, like a bunch of guys with 15
Right.
points. I think that's more scary to me than
Right.
Tatum going for 45
I mean, I think it
or
depends on
something
how
like that.
efficient he's doing it. If he's doing it efficiently, then that means he's getting 50 and spreading it around, right? He's getting his 50 by not taking a lot of shots. But you're right. If he's just chucking and chucking and chucking and he's getting 50 points on 50, 60 shots, then yes. I'm not I wouldn't be worried that that's gonna beat us.
Yeah. um so you saying you think it's going to be close within 5 to 8 points?
I think it's gonna be 5 to 10 points. I mean that second unit has Schroeder, that second unit has Josh Richardson, that second unit has um well Al Horford is out. So that means they're gonna have to go with Cantor. I'm not concerned about Cantor at all. And I think if Cantor is at the five, I think that's when you go with the small ball lineup, in my opinion. You know what I mean? Because and actually what that does also is he's a great offensive rebounder,
Hmm.
so that'll help. um
Boston.
yeah, yeah. Well, if they're on offense, yeah, he has to play, mm, yeah, I'm not sure. I still think it would be to our advantage.
I do as
Brooklyn, we
well.
yeah, yeah,
But I told you I'd keep it short. I appreciate you jumping on with me.
of
Sorry
course.
about the delays. The chat. Thank you guys for joining us. I appreciate you guys as always. I hope to see the majority of you guys tomorrow at Legends NYC,
Mhm.
3:30 to 5:30, and then at the game, and then back at Legends for the post game, a brief post game. And we celebrate this win, celebrate the start of the season. Um,
Definitely.
and look out for, we got a lot of things in the work. MBK fam, shout out
Yeah.
to Sim, the Podfather,
Right.
putting
Right.
everything in motion.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
thank you, Queen's Court.
Of
Look out
course.
for
Of
that
course.
on Mondays.
Yeah.
Next Monday, we should be back to our regular scheduled
Yeah. Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
lineup. I
Yeah.
want to shout out still Knicks fan, Josh,
Definitely.
the controversy. Andy, International Andy. I told you I shot you out as well. He
Did
won't
his
be there
show go live
tomorrow.
today?
I if it did, I missed it. I've been running around all day, but
Okay, okay.
I know he kept saying he wish he could be there with us tomorrow. So I told him I'll take a shot for him tomorrow. Um,
Definitely, definitely.
and I
And I will
definitely will.
say, if if a group of you guys don't have tickets, but yet you want to do a viewing party at Legends, it's a sports bar. They have a lot of televisions there. So if a couple of you just want to meet there for the pregame, and then
Hmm.
as we go to the game, if you want to stay there and watch the
Watch the
game
game.
there,
Yeah,
you could do that. We'll be back after the game.
absolutely, absolutely. Um, yeah, Queen, thank you for joining me. Shout out to the chat. Your blackest time. Any last words, Queen?
Knicks win by 10
All right,
tomorrow.
all right. Um, salute, and I'll catch y'all next time.